Well, hello everyone. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Today on the show, I have a very different type of guest who I'm very excited to welcome onto today's episode of the podcast. Today we have Alessandro Riente, who is an Italian professional poker player who's going to be sharing with us a little bit today about the lifestyle of a professional poker player, including the mindset that it takes to compete, some of the tournaments he's competed in, how to master the traditional poker face, not showing your emotions, what the atmosphere of a tournament is like. We're just going to get into it today. It is some very interesting stuff about poker. So thank you for watching. And Alessandro, thank you very much for coming on. Like I said at the beginning, thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So, starting at the beginning, I think the beginning is always a good place to start with these things. With yourself and your relationship with poker and your interest in poker, where did it start? Where did it begin for you? How did you first get involved in poker?
Yeah, sure. I guess with like most of people, a friend of mine once told me, "Oh, there is this game. Let's play it." And I thought like it was like any other game from the casino. Like I know nothing about it back then, and so I played with them like one night. I thought it was fun, and that's it really. And then I got very interested into it because I knew there were people that were making a living out of that. So it was like, why is this different from roulette or blackjack? Why there are people making a living out of this? And so having a look, back then was 2000 2008, so a long time ago, 13 years ago. No, sorry, 14 now. And so I had a look, and there were people making a living out of that, and I knew there were some books, so I started reading books. I made my first deposit on PokerStars, and I put like 25 euros of my money, which was a lot for me back then. I mean, like not very a lot, but much more than what it is now. At least for me, because I was at university, not working, living with my parents, and so on. And basically, in 3 days, I lost everything. Which was not that good as a feeling. And then I started playing just free rolls, which basically are tournaments where you don't pay the entrance fees, but if you win, you win like some small money, which is like €1, €2, €3, something like that. Nothing big. And I won like €3. And then I lost them. But when I lost those €3, it unlocked my welcome bonus of the first deposit. And so they gave me €10 back on my account on PokerStars, and then I started like I really want to make this, like I don't want to burn these €10, so I play like the smallest limits and so on. And basically since then it started, I played and put much more focus into the game, into how other players think, and in the study. And yeah, I got lucky at the beginning to not burn those €10. And yeah, since then I've been like not professional, because the professional side came like the last few years, but I've been always like a player who make money out of poker, I would say, even if it was not my main thing. And it started during my first year at university.
Okay, amazing. It's a good insight into how you started. And for people that don't know, when you're actually competing in a tournament, I know here we're talking about the online tournaments primarily.
Yes.
I've seen those myself. But for anyone that doesn't know, can you sort of explain just a little bit about how it works, the other players, what
Yeah,
sort of,
sure.
yeah, you get where I'm coming from with
Yes,
this.
so there are basically, it's good that you say tournaments, because I don't play tournaments. There are two big distinctions in poker. So there is, on one side there is cash games, and the other side is tournaments. So the difference is, on tournament you pay a fee, which is fixed, and you receive a certain amount of chips. And then there are the blinds, which are the bets that you have to put. Like there is usually small and big blinds in most of the games. And then they increase after a certain amount. So every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, every 5 minutes, it depends on the tournament. And the tournament ends when there is a winner. So one person wins all the chips in the tournament. And usually like a certain percentage goes into the money. So basically they make their buying back plus some more. And of course, it's kind of exponential, the payback, in the sense that the more you move forward, the more it's increasing. And that's the tournaments. The cash game is a similar thing, but when you put the money to the table, like you put €100, it's €100. So if the small blind is 50 cents and the big blind is €1, for instance, they will stay like that forever, basically, until the table ends. And it's much more flexible because you can stand up and leave the table wherever you want. Like you have €100, you make 150, you want to leave, you can do it. You lose 20, you go to 80, you want to leave, you can do it. You don't have like, I mean, there are some rules like you need to play a minimum amount of tables because it could create some certain of behaviors that poker rooms are trying to avoid. But basically, except this rule is like you're totally flexible to do what you want. So this is what I do. I play cash games. I played a bit of everything, to be honest, in my life. So tournaments, cash games, sit and goes, everything. And lately, I'm focusing a lot into short deck hold'em cash game, which is a very niche game, which is like came popular in the last few years because some big names are playing it, and they are playing like very high stakes. And it's not super popular compared to the normal Texas Hold'em. So, but I like it, and I find there is like it's more interesting, it's something new because it's many years that I play poker, and it got a little bit boring for me. So moving to something new with new opportunities was good. And so getting back to like how it is, it's basically, how can I describe it? It's like probably playing any competitive games. The only difference is like, this is what I do for a living, but I try to not have that pressure on myself because I know that if I put myself in a place like, oh, I have to win this, otherwise I'm not gonna buy food for myself or whatever, I cannot pay the rent or the holiday or whatever it is, it's gonna put me in a bad place mentally. So I know that if I am a winning player in the short term, I can lose money. Of course, it's a volatile game, but in the long term, if I make the right decisions, I'm gonna make money. Very likely. It can happen that you're not gonna make money in the long term, even if you're a good player, but it's very unlikely. So what you need to focus is to put like the right decision in place and to play enough hands to justify that long-term concept. So for this reason, there are concepts like bankroll. That's why you don't play all the money you have in one game, even if it's a very good game. So you have to be like protect the downside, because you can even be the best player in the world, but you can and play with the worst player in the world, but you can be just very unlucky in that single tournament or a cash game, whatever, and you can lose those money. So you just lose a tiny percentage of your entire bankroll. And that's how it works. There's a lot about risk management, psychology, fun, if you want to put it that way, because of course I see it as it's my job, but at the same time I prefer to do this rather than a 9-to-5 lifestyle, which is what I was doing. Basically, after I graduated, I took like a short pause from the game to become a full-time trader in London. And then after a year of doing that, I understood that was the not right path for me, but I still continue. I became an analyst, and I got back to poker, and I did it on the side. So I did basically two jobs: one play poker and one just the normal jobs, to say. And then after a few years, I understood like it's not worth it. I might just play poker because I always been profitable, and I like what I do. I like the freedom that comes from that, because of course it's a double-edged sword, because nobody's telling me what to do. But because nobody's telling me what to do, that sometimes I'm a little bit like a slack off, because of course you have to work on this. It's not like it's a competitive game. So the fact that I'm profitable today doesn't mean that I will be profitable tomorrow, because if other players get better than me, then I will lose money. I can be like the fifth best player in the world, but if I keep playing with the fourth best player in the world, I will lose money no matter what. But if I play with all the rest of the population, I will make money. So this is another skill, which is called table selection. So you need to understand where to play and against who to play. So there is also the side of ego, of course, because you have to say, look, I might be a good player, but maybe this is not the right spot for me. I might look for something better, which is very difficult because you need to be very focused on yourself, understand your limits, where you are, and if you don't do it, you'll face like it's something I really like of poker is like if you do something wrong, you face it. If not in the short term, in the long term. So it's something new you have to work on. Other stuff in life, you can be lucky and not even understand that you've been lucky and that was the wrong decision. But in poker, it will come up sooner or later. So even if I do make mistakes, because I'm not a robot, I'm not perfect. At the moment, I'm making less mistakes than my opponents, so I can make money out of that. If that changes in the future, of course, everything will change, and I might not be profitable as now. So that keeps me the motivation to work and to study and to go on like this. So this is kind of the environment. You have this pressure of keep working hard or something, but at the same time, I kind of accepted that side of things because this is kind of the price for me to the freedom that I have, which I like. So I'm not like, even if when I lose a lot of money in like 1 hour, I'm kind of relaxed because I know it happened already and I can come back from that as it happened in the past. So this is kind of my mindset at the moment. I'm very relaxed about it. I'm not either stressed. Some people can think, oh, you must be like every time move a lot of money, you're super stressed and so on. I'm okay. Of course, if you put me in a situation where I play much higher stakes and I'm not used to, maybe not with my money, I will have much more pressure. And of course, the decision I could take could be not optimal because of that situation. But overall, because I'm like in my comfort zone on what I do at the moment, so I'm okay. Of course, sometimes you try to go to the higher limits, even though at the moment I'm playing on the .it sites because the legislation imposes you, like I'm in Italy right now, I'm back and forth with the UK. So when I'm in the UK, I play on the .uk sites, .co.uk sites, and when I'm in Italy, I play in the .it sites. So here in Italy at the moment, I'm playing the higher stakes, which are not that high overall because there are some limitation because of the legislation. So I cannot even go higher if I want to, in that sense. But of course, in the UK, when I'm there, they're not that high compared to the overall limit that you can play. So there is a room to push yourself. And that's basically the lifestyle of a poker player, I would say.
Amazing. Well, I knew that would be a good answer, but wow, I mean, that was a really, really good answer because, there were so many things that you went into there to do with the mindset, the long-term thinking, the pressure, how you handle it. It's really good. It's several questions that I had all rolled into one, which is brilliant. So like I say, I knew it would be a good answer, but thank you. That was a very, very good answer. That's a real insight. So a couple more things to sort of touch on then, moving on from that. Obviously, in terms of your achievements in poker, you're making this living from it, you're doing well, you've experienced the highs and the lows by the sound of it, which definitely, come with that. Is there something that when you look at it as sort of a proudest achievement, or what I mean by that is, has there been a particular time in poker maybe when you won your first big amount, or you started to have your early successes? Or I'm not expecting you to say how much it was, by the way, so because that's personal, so don't worry. But just in terms of that moment when you look back and you think, that was a really good game, or that was the one. Is there one that stands out, maybe more than one, with that type?
Not really for me, because like the difference between cash game and tournaments is like in tournaments you maybe lose several tournaments and then you have a really big win, and then that covers for everything. But in cash game usually it's more like a straight line that you keep winning. It's not like every session you win, but with enough hands you should like keep winning. Then of course there are some volatile movements. But it's a bit different. So it's kind of like constant, I would say. I don't have like that moment of like, oh yes, I made it. And also I try to stay from that mentality, because I know that if I think for myself, oh, I made it, then I have an excuse to not work hard anymore on something. So I try to push back that, because when in life I said, oh, okay, I've made it. I mean, I think life is like this. So if you don't move forward, you move backwards. So if you achieve this thing, is oh, I'm on the top of the Mount Everest, and you put your flag on, and then it's over, then what? What's gonna happen next? That's good for a story, for a movie or something. But in real life, basically, if you don't keep working hard, you just move back, and it's fine. Like if one day I want to sit back and just retire and do something else, that's fine. I can even play poker for fun and every now and then, so on. But since now my goal is to play and be the best player I can be, I know I need to work hard. And I'm guilty of this because I'm not I mean, I'm quite lazy, I would say, for the study side and everything. I'm not like the best guy with the mindset of like yes, I need to work hard, I need to work in this weakness, and then I do it. I'm not saying, oh, I'm the best in the world, I just work hard and so on. So, of course, I have my limits, but at the same time, I understand that there are consequences. And so, for this reason, that type of mentality of like, I have achieved this, let's enjoy life and let's celebrate is not much into myself. I've been told like, oh, you should celebrate your success, your stuff when you achieve something big. But at the same time, I find that that thing doesn't give me much. It's just a short-sighted pleasure for that hour. But then I don't want that to become as like, oh, I want that thing for a long term. So like getting pleasure, and pleasure, while in life it doesn't work. Because if I can keep that just partying basically, I'm not going to achieve much. It's like you read a book and you get a lot from that. Then it's just the beginning. It's not just the end, because probably you're not going to need another book of the same subject or another subject and so on. But if you stop reading, it's just going to stop your brain working. And the same is here. So the short answer after this long answer is no, I don't have like a moment like that. I have a few moments which define my career, which I can tell you about. So once I didn't want to turn out like, I came to the final table of two big tournaments, and basically there was like this bonus prize that if you reach the final table you get additional money. And so back then for me, basically my bankroll did 20x, which was very huge for me, and it was my net worth as well. So my net worth 20x overnight, and I couldn't sleep that night. And then what happened? The day after I went to Milan to shopping and spent 12.5% more or less of my net worth in BS stuff I didn't need, and that was my lesson. That's why I don't do this stuff anymore, because it was pointless. And then I started playing higher limits and started losing money. So basically, in a few days, I lost half of my winnings. And then I stood like, I did a step back and like analyzing this. This doesn't make sense. I cannot do this. It's not sustainable. If I want to do this for a living, I need to be more professional about this. And so that's what I did. And then after a few months, so a little insight is like, back in 2009, I think, there was this thing called Black Friday, which was not about discounts, but more because in the USA, they shut down online poker because they declared it illegal. And one poker room, Full Tilt, back then was like the biggest one with PokerStars. They were the biggest two market shares of the poker market. Basically, people started to withdraw money, and then they discovered it was basically a Ponzi scheme, and basically shut down, and many people lost money. And then after a few years, PokerStars bought them, so people got the money back, and so on. So my lucky thing was like a month before I started withdrawing money Full Tilt to move money from that room to another one, and then basically it was all my net worth was there. And then I got lucky enough to withdraw them. Otherwise, probably my career will be over, because I wouldn't have money I wouldn't have that amount of money to put back and play poker. So that for sure, it's a lucky event, and it was a unique event. And of course, it defined me as a person. And yes, but it's not something like, it's not an achievement, of course. It was just a casual thing that, of course, was very lucky. As well as it was lucky at the beginning, when with those last 10 euro, I made it and started making money, become profitable. Because maybe if I lost that last 10 euros, I would have lost the motivation to continue. So yeah, these are my moments, but they're not related to big achievements. I've been like among the players, especially at the beginning, early days, many players were making much more money than I'm making probably now. They were like big wins, but those people, most of them, they just disappeared, because what happened? The game evolved, and the money to make they started to decrease. But the way I approached that, I always like didn't make as much money, but constantly increasing the money that I was making, so I can still survive in this environment. So it's kind of like being kind of not the fittest, one of the fittest in this environment, because again, it's like 14 years now that I'm playing, and I know very few players that have been playing and been profitable for 14 years. Because of course there are players that are better than me, but what if it happens like 1 year you make, I don't know, 3 million out of poker, and the next year you make 50K? Then you probably said, okay, I'll open a restaurant or whatever. You do something else with your life. I become an entrepreneur. I go back to university. You do whatever you want with your life. But for me, it was like it has always increased the amount of money I was making, even if it was not much at the beginning. I did enjoy what I was doing, so that kept me motivating. That kept my motivation to keep going. And it's funny because people will think, oh, poker is all about money and everything. Yes, it's true, because at the end of the day, I need to make money to play. But there are so many sides that you need to think about. Like, I like psychological side of it. I like the mindset side of it. I like the fact that I have 100% responsibility out of that. If you have like, even if you are an entrepreneur, for instance, so you are your own boss, you don't have to deal with other people you don't want to, and so on. You have people which rely on you, like your employees or your whoever, every person you work with. So it's not like you are totally alone and you can work on yourself. But this job gives me the opportunity to do that. So if I'm not making money in a specific year, which fortunately never happened so far, because of course a year is a lot of time. If you're not profitable in a year, it means there is something very wrong. So if I don't make money for a year, I know that the problem is me. There is nothing else to blame. It's not the environment, it's not the other people, it's not the government, whatever. It's just me that I'm not good enough at that game. So there is no excuses to go around. And so I can work on myself. I need to dig deep, like what went wrong. I need to analyze my stuff. Psychologically, am I fine? Yes, no. The statistics behind it did make sense. The calculation, the mathematics, my personal life. Because also there is that thing to think about, because if you have something in your personal life that is affecting your game, you probably should not play, or you need to play having that awareness. I'm fortunate enough to have I have a beautiful girlfriend which I like to stay with. We have zero problems. Let's assume our relationship start to get bad. I would struggle playing poker, not because I forgot how to play, but because emotionally I'm not there. So my focus is somewhere else. So I'd rather take a few days off rather than playing poorly. But of course, I need to be conscious that there are consequences. So if something happens, I have, I don't know, my parents need something, I need to spend time with them because whatever reason, I know I need to do that, and I cannot play poker. If for whatever reason I cannot stay on PC because maybe I get ill with my eyes, I don't know, and I cannot spend more than 1 hour a day on the PC, then I need to work to look for something else. So of course there are risks related to this job, and it's nothing new to tell you. But there are lots of perks if you can manage all this mess, I would say. I mean, you see, in 2 questions, I gave you so many information because I tried to give you a full understanding of what kind of world is this. And there is so much more. And of course, it's kind of managing all these chaos that make a professional poker player profitable.
That's amazing, and as you say, it's amazing the depth that you go into with this, because it does cover multiple aspects, and I'm really glad that we've got into the psychological side of it, because that was something that really interested me as well, and obviously interests you, including the fact of how this has improved you as a person, your outlook on the game, these different things. I'm really glad that we got into that, as well as the fact that it shows people maybe who don't know as much about it, that there's a lot more to it than people think. And I don't mean that it's simple by any means, but getting into the emotional, psychological aspect, there's a lot of humanity in the game, and it's not as sort of cold and numbers and this and that as people think it is, which I understood, because I do know a few people who play to different levels. But it's really good to give that insight to our audience. So I think that is fantastic on a lot of levels. And I love, as I mentioned, the continual improvement. That answer, powerful lesson. If it's not growing, it's dying. If it's not moving forward, it's going back. I love that. I live by that as well. So that's not even a question, but it's a fantastic lesson for people watching this, because you can apply that to other life areas as well. It's not just poker. I mean, that improvement comes into or should come into everything, I think, which is really, really good answer. The only other thing that I will ask is pretty much the last thing, which you've sort of covered in a way, but I just want to touch on it. When we talk about future plans and things like that, obviously your future plan is to continually improve, and I understand that. But because we've talked about the past and we've talked about the present, just touching on the future a little bit, I think would be a good way to wrap this up in terms of your goals, your dreams, what you're aiming for from here. Obviously, you're aiming to continue to improve, which is wonderful. Is there anything else in terms of specific tournaments, in terms of specific things, or are you just aiming to be, as you said, the best player that you can be from here on out?
Yeah, so always the aim is to be the best player I can be, which means like I want to overcome some barriers. So like if I play a certain stake now, I want to increase it maybe, I don't know, by 10x. So it's kind of a challenge because I'm very comfortable where I am now and everything is going well. So, but at the same time, I want to be uncomfortable and try to reach the new thing. And it's more like, yeah, it's about money. You make more money and so on, but it's a lot about the competition side of that. It's like let's say you play a professional sport. It's the same thing. Like you play in a league and you want to go to the next league. Like even if you are comfortable where you are and everything is going well. So on the poker side, for sure, I'm looking for the next challenge and keep going to that direction for sure. And in terms of, and this is very related to me as a person because of course when I overcome like you mentioned before, psychological side. Yes, it's not that I don't have fears. Like when I do bluff for a big amount, I'm scared. It's not that I'm not scared. It's just I try to manage that emotion in a way that is not affecting my life. It's not like I bluff and I lose money in a big pot and then I need to think about that for a week because that would be unhealthy for me, of course. So I need to be in a position. Look, this move is profitable. If it works, it's good. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter because in the long term it will work. If it doesn't work in the long term, it means that my calculations are wrong. So I need to reaccess to them. It's as simple as that. But of course, when you're managing lots of money, it's not that easy because, of course, emotion comes out and you look, oh, this amount is, I don't know, it's the same amount of a car, and I'm like betting a car like this, and it's a lot of money. And yes, I understand that, but it's something you develop. It's not like I woke up yesterday and like, oh, let's make these big bets. It's something I developed throughout the years. So that's one thing. In terms of like outside poker, I'm always looking for opportunities. So in my life, I've done so many things. I opened a gym. I've worked like 9 to 5 as a normal person. I've been a trader. I look into so many stuff into the financial markets. So always look for opportunities. But at this stage, because what has been proven so far is like poker is always my main source of income. And then I want to add stuff on the side, but they don't need to overtake too much of my poker lifestyle. Because what happened in the past, like when I opened a gym, for instance, then it became my main profession and I have to give up on poker. So once I got back to poker, I need to start to a lower limit because of course I cannot manage that amount of money. It was a lot of time not playing and not pushing myself so much. And it was the same principle as before. If you don't move forward, you move backwards. So of course, it's not that overall I moved backwards because I put my effort in other stuffs. But so what I've seen so far is like poker was my main thing to do, and then there are other stuff on the side. So getting back to it is like if I have to open a gym, for instance, I will do it on a passive way, like as an investment. I will not go there and be there every day because for me it would take away from poker, and that's for now. Maybe in 10 years or 5 years it will be different. I don't know. So of course I'm planning to look into this stuff and opportunities, but the main focus is poker for now until something changes. And when it changes, again, it's about that fitness thing in the sense that I need to fit into a new path, into a new direction. And of course I will face it when it will happen. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we've got into some incredible insights here, really, and like I say, it's sort of exceeded my expectations in the sense I knew it would be good, but when we've gone deeper into the deeper side, not just the surface, but into the real, the logical side, but also the human side as well, if you get what I mean. It's a wonderful
Of
thing,
course.
and it's a really, really good insight. So, as I mentioned, you answered several of my questions all into one and a few more, but I'm well happy with how it's all come out. So the last thing for me to do is just to say once again a big thank you for your time, and I appreciate you making the time to do this and to give us an insight into your life. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.